In 2003, 7 Qingshui Village kids vanished gathering herbs. Day 7, they returned silently, unharmed. They brought back a pure white, never-seen flower with an odd fragrance. Elders said the flower matches soul-binding incense, living people near at will. The children seemed normal, but never dreamed again. Villagers began losing sleep, smelling that familiar odd scent at midnight. That night, a child sat up, telling his startled mother, "Mom, the mountains are cold. Let's go inside to warm up now." Late summer 2003, in Qingshui Village deep in China's southwest mountains, 7 children went herb picking together and failed to return before nightfall. At first, they thought it was playful wandering. After nightfall, the woods suddenly turned. The beams of flashlights and anxious calls were swallowed by the heavy darkness, bringing back only empty echoes and an ominous silence. For the next 6 days, almost every able-bodied man in the village turned the nearby mountains upside down. Thorns ripped clothes, worry reddened eyes. Yet we found not a shred of the kids' clothes or one shoe. It was as if the mountain god had gently taken them into its mouth, leaving no trace behind. Despair, like a damp, cold fog, settled heavily over the isolated small village. The adults' hearts sank lower with each passing day. The oldest woman in the village, third granny, just kept muttering to the vast mountains, "They can't be found. This mountain doesn't keep those who want to leave." 7th day, dusk. Blood-red sunset casts a strangely vivid glow on the old locust at village gate. Just when everyone had given up hope, 7 small figures appeared faintly at the end of the village path. They walked in a single file, unhurriedly, their clothes neat, their faces calm, looking even a little chubbier than before they went into the mountains. They were the 7 children missing 7 days and nights, all returned alive, unharmed, together here. The whole village erupted in a clamor of crying and laughing, hugging their returned children tightly as elation washed away days of exhaustion and fear. An observant woman noticed the children bore no dirt or weariness from hiking the hills, and their eyes seemed calm. But that bit of strangeness was quickly drowned out by the wave of reunion. The oldest child, 13-year-old Qing, took a flower from his clothes, saying he had picked it in the mountains because it looked unusual. Carefully handed the flower to adults. It was a pure white flower, strange in shape, resembling an orchid but not quite, with thick petals forming an almost perfect bowl shape. Leafless, it stood as a lone stem. Its fragrance was what drew attention most. The fragrance wasn't strong or overpowering, but it was highly penetrating, cool and clear, with a hint of sweetness, and a faint scent of sandalwood mixed with the smell of old paper. Take a sniff. At first your mind tightens, then deeper. You feel an inexplicable emptiness inside. It was as if the fragrance didn't drift into the nose, but seeped directly into the brain. The village's wisest men watched, all shaking heads, saying they didn't recognize it. Only third granny hopped over, glanced once. Her gaunt body jolted, and her face went ashen. Her lips trembled. She said nothing, turned away, and staggered off, as if 10 years older all at once in silence still. Afterward, a bold young man went to ask. Third granny shut her door tightly and only sighed softly from inside. The books recorded it. White, souls steal it. If the living get too close, they will lose something. What a sin. He refused to say what exactly was lost. The speculation about the soul sealing incense was only whispered fearfully among a few elders. They didn't dare let the children's families hear. The children were back, and life seemed to have returned to normal. They ate, played, and went to school, answering and recognizing every relative and friend. Then slowly, the family sensed something wrong. Too quiet. These children, who used to kick off their blankets, talk in their sleep, and occasionally wake up crying or laughing, now lay down and breathed steadily through the night until dawn without even turning over. At first, the parents were glad their children were sleeping well, until one day, a mother teased her son, who used to dream of flying. "Where did you fly last night?" The son blinked and said blankly, "Mom, I didn't dream. It's not that I don't remember dreaming. It's that I didn't dream at all, they checked. And it was the same for all 7 children. They had lost their dreams. For them, sleep had become a deep, dark pool of absolute, rippleless silence. At the same time, other changes were quietly spreading through the village. First came the East End blacksmith, strong enough to kill an ox. He stared at beams all night, panicked. Next were a few of the men who had searched the hardest on the mountain. At night, they tossed and turned, always smelling a faint, cold fragrance. The scent reminded them of the white flower the children had brought back. Insomnia spread like a plague, and more people couldn't sleep. Moreover, without exception, they all faintly smelled that peculiar fragrance in the dead of night. It wasn't in my nose, more like it welled up from some corner of my heart. The village doctor found nothing, gave calming pills. Absolutely no effect. Dark circles deepened under eyes, and by day the village wore an unseen haze of fatigue, dread. The king's white flower in a clay pot had long withered already now, but its presence seemed to have seeped into the cracks of the village's bricks and tiles. As the night wind lingered, the strange occurrences began to escalate. First, chickens, ducks, and livestock became lethargic at night, as if drained. Nighttime, during a bathroom trip, someone glimpsed a tiny pale figure outside the window, silently watching inside. Rub your eyes. Look again. Still nothing there at all. What sounded like the mixed laughter of many children occasionally drifted on the wind. But if you listened closely, there was only the moaning of the forest. Fear was no longer a whisper. It coldly burrowed into everyone's heart. Everyone quietly barred doors early, never stepping out at night. It felt as if darkness itself had come alive, watching. It was a moonless night. The wind was strong, making the old wooden windows rattle. A king's mom has been badly on edge these past few days, sleeping lightly. Late at night, a tiny rustle suddenly woke her. It wasn't the wind. She held her breath and, in the ink-black darkness, heard a movement from her son, a king's bed. She saw a king slowly sit up, his movements somewhat stiff. Then, he turned his head, his face towards her. In the darkness, she couldn't see her son's expression, but she could feel his gaze fixed on her face. A king spoke. His voice was the clear voice of a child, but his tone was flat, without a single ripple, coldly piercing the suffocating darkness. "Mom, it's cold up here." He paused, and every word was like a small hammer striking his mother's frozen eardrums and heart. "Let us in to get warm." The blood in a king's mother's veins seemed to freeze solid at that moment, then rushed violently back to her head with a deafening roar. She opened her mouth, but couldn't make a sound. Only her teeth chattered uncontrollably. She watched helplessly at her son's blurry silhouette in the darkness. The silhouette waited quietly, as if waiting for permission, for an invitation. Outside, the sound of the wind suddenly stopped, leaving a dead silence. That familiar, cool, and strange floral scent suddenly intensified without warning, filling the entire room and permeating every inch of air. A coldness coiled around her, like countless invisible hands, gently stroking her skin, trying to find a crack to burrow inside. The night was still long, and in the darkness throughout the village, who knows how many pairs of newly opened eyes were quietly staring at the sleeping, or pretending to be sleeping, faces of their own family members. In the clay pot on A Qing's windowsill, the withered white flower's drooping stem suddenly gave a faint, hurried twitch,